right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Martial Arts Management Group's Success Series podcast. And I'm excited to have our first guest in these webinar podcast type things, Mr. Tim Rook from Manassas, Virginia, premier martial arts school owner. Tim has an awesome family, his wife, Mary, their son, Ronan. And Tim, you guys are expecting another one soon, right?
Yeah, we have another one in August coming up.
Oh, wow. Really soon. What do you know what it's going to be?
Girl.
Girl, any names yet?
Maybe Fiona Rose.
Nice, cool. Ronan and Fiona Rose, that would be cool. All right. Okay, very good. All right, Tim, I find that networking with the school owners, and school owners love to network. Sometimes they can't travel to network, and I remember when I was a young school owner, I was always visiting people's schools. Almost every month, every other month, I would hear about somebody, and I would go visit their school, and, I either walked out of their school going, man, that guy's sharp, I learned so much, I'm so glad I came, or I walked out of there feeling pretty good about myself because I feel like, wow, this guy supposedly got it going on, and I feel like I'm right there with him, So it was just a great learning experience. School owners are so busy nowadays that it's hard for a lot of them to travel. So I thought these Success Series podcasts would be a great way of bringing the networking to them, learning about the school owner and learning about the different successes school owners had. So let's just start off with a little bit of background about Tim Rook. What style you started studying, how long you've been studying martial arts, just some background info.
Sure. Well, I started off with Taekwondo. I trained in Taekwondo for about 6 years. I did a little bit of Tung Sudo for about 2 years, some kickboxing, some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and some Krav Maga. More recently, in the last about 3 years, I've been working on those newer systems. So that's about my martial arts experience. I've been teaching pretty early on with Taekwondo, kind of assisting even when I was a beginner belt student, helping out in class and all. So I've been teaching probably for about 10 to 12 years now, and also used to be a swim coach. I coached and head coached a summer swim team and have some other little various teaching experiences. Only associate's degree from community college. I'd like to go back and work on that, but that's kind of my experience and background and all. A little bit of sales training and sales jobs along the way, that type of thing. So
okay,
yeah.
Now let's flash back to when me and you first met, and I received a call from a young guy named Tim Rook, and now this has only been how long? 2 years now?
Yeah, 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
First opened our business, but yeah.
I get a phone call from a young guy. Tell me where you were at that point in your life, what you were doing, where you were teaching, that type of thing.
Okay. Yeah, so we had started our company actually inside of a daycare. We did a little summer camp to kind of kick it off and start with about 25 kids. A couple months into it, by the time I called you up, it was we were about 60 members, and we were kind of hitting a challenge where the daycare was switching owners, and we were about at that transition point where the daycare basically gave us, very short notice, about a week to relocate. And so just shortly after meeting you, you helped us get into our first actual facility and kind of go from there. So,
well, I don't think it's a mystery to premier martial arts owners. You've been in our victory section of our management meetings for quite some time now. Hopefully, if people don't have a face with the name, they do after this podcast. But when I met you, I think it would be fair to say that we worked hard at negotiating you a lease. Me and you did this together. We looked at spaces, we looked at demographics, and I remember there was an issue that you didn't have bad credit, you just didn't have credit. And we were trying to get in a real high-end shopping center, and they just wanted a personal guarantee. If anybody has never negotiated a lease, when a larger company wants a personal guarantee, if you don't have some assets to back up the total price of that lease, they're reluctant to let you in. So we struggled with that, and then we started calling around, and we found a gentleman in a situation in a plaza that was willing to roll the dice on a young martial arts instructor with with a little bit of verbal support from Premier Martial Arts International that took a chance on you. Now, that initial first space, only 2.5 years ago, what size was that space?
That was a 2,400 square foot space.
Okay, and that's not a small space. That's a reasonable size space for a martial arts school. So you take your 60 people 2.5 years ago, kids that you were teaching in daycares, you move them in the 2,400 square feet space. You implement the Premier Martial Arts business systems. You are very, very active. You still come 2.5 years later to almost all of our trainings that you can get to, physical trainings, business trainings. And I remember you sitting in the back during a break between some of our meetings, and I remember looking at you and saying, listen, man, you are going to be highly successful. I just have this feeling. I have this energy about you. You and your wife are awesome people. You're like a big kid yourself, which people don't understand how important that aspect is when you're bridging with your students and parents and you have that kind of childlike energy. So let's flash forward now to today, 2.5 years later. I know you've actually moved from that space already to a bigger space, bigger facility, more like the type of facility that you wanted to begin with, and these landlords were glad to get you in there. So flash forward today and tell me where you're at in your business.
All right. Well, right now we're at about 300 members. Definitely like your equation that you have, about 25% adult and 75% kids. And we've got 6 employees, a program director, front desk, and main adult instructor, a couple assistant kids instructors. And we are projecting to get to about 400 students by the end of the year. That's kind of our main driver where we're headed right now. So. Very
awesome. And you're sitting at what right now?
We're sitting at about 300 right now. So
300 students in 2.5 years. Totally awesome. Totally amazing. Pardon?
I was saying we moved in October to this space. It's 3,700 square foot. We have a nice front reception area, 2 classrooms, an office, and a private lesson area in the back. So.
Well, in this module, as owners are looking at this, I've included some photographs. Still photographs of your school, so they can see exactly what you're doing. So, right at about 320 some students, looking toward 400. How many staff members do you have?
It was 6.
6 staff members. That's very awesome. How many of those are part-time?
Pretty much everyone is about 25 hours a week, kind of average. So 25. I have my front desk person works the most, but she handles a lot of our billing and communication and all.
So that's like having about 3 full-time staff members, which is where a school of 320, 25 students would be. So I totally got you. And I know, it's not about money. It's about happiness. It's about quality of life for you and Ronan and Mary. It's about fulfilling, your community adventure and giving people what they want and servicing your community and the relationships with your students. And we don't want to talk about money, but is it fair to say you're somewhere, I think even last month was a record gross. Last month, let's just say you were somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 a month without narrowing it down.
Okay, yeah, we could say that.
Okay. All right, because you know what, this is a business meeting. This is we are a business organization through the martial arts, and it's important that owners really understand that this isn't a hobby. A hobby is teaching in a YMCA somewhere a couple nights a week. A hobby was what you were doing before. You've got a 4,000 square foot facility, 325 students, 6 staff members. You've got power bill, electric bill, car payments. You've got expenses. So we have to treat it like a business. And all of that hard work that you're putting out there is bringing in the results. I'm always big on victories and challenges. We can learn from both. Give me some of your top victories that you've had in the past 2.5 years. Just some high points that you're proud of that you would like to share with us.
Sure. The number one thing that I'm proud of is that we opened our business in my hometown, and we've been able to do huge community-oriented service for our area. So we're in almost all the schools doing our school talks. We've done fundraising for various organizations and all. We did a muscular dystrophy fundraiser, and we were able to raise $2,500. We have done some amazing things just kind of helping our community out itself. So that's one of the best things for me because I grew up here and I want to see the area, grow in itself. But second best victory would be just our students and the time that we take with them to help them with dealing with bully situations at school or just the behaviors that the parents are looking for, increasing their focus and getting the real results that martial arts is supposed to be teaching, to the kids. So those are my best victories that I have. Other than that, from the business side, we already talked about all those victories with the school growth and all of that. So creating opportunities for my staff and my employees and future growth kind of thing. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, are there, as you've gone through this journey so rapidly in 2.5 years, are there any challenges that sticks out that you had to overcome?
Yeah, the biggest challenge was when the daycare decided they sold the business, and so the new owners came in and basically gave us 1 week notice, said that, and that was actually not even a notice. The former owner came to me and she said, "Hey, I don't think that they're planning to have you, and they're taking over on Friday." So she gave me a heads up, so it wasn't even really notice, But anyway, I found that out, and I just that challenge could have completely closed our business and crippled us. But instead, I just got our parents on board and I let them know about the situation. We actually, I picked up the phone, started calling around the community. And so that challenge in itself, with a little bit of drive, really helped to set the seed for all of the community stuff that we've done since then. So it really was a benefit for us that it happened when we got our own space. Right away, just having a storefront just, grew the business. And so it was a tough challenge. That was probably the hardest one to overcome, but in doing that, it just fueled our business in the right direction. So
awesome, man, awesome. Now, when I talk to school owners, the top 2 problems they usually have that they ask about anyway is either they're having a staff problem and instructors breaking away and they're afraid they're going to take all their students, or somebody quit, now they're shorthanded, or they're more one-man show type schools and they're trying to find staff. You've been lucky and you've developed a team of 6 staff members. Now, were these staff members, were they raised inside your school? I always get people ask me this, so I want to hear it from you. Were they raised inside your school, or did you find these people outside your own studio?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story, I guess, for at least one of the kids that I got working with me, but they're just coming from keeping networks, keeping in touch with people. Pretty much everybody on my staff I used to train with a long time ago. 2 of the teens, there's a 16 and an 18-year-old, I actually used to teach a long time ago. I stayed in touch with their parents on Facebook, and their parents stayed in touch with me, kind of thing. We also, the funny story is that the 18-year-old, I actually taught him when he was like really little, like 7, 8 years old, right? He's a little muscle guy walking around. And his sister started training with us at the new location. He started training eventually. I said, "Hey, this is a great guy. Let me hire this guy." I hired him. A couple months later, after hiring him, we were talking about his background and everything. And I found out that I was his instructor a long time ago. Both of us didn't even realize that. So it was just a funny kind of story. But anyway, so, it was just kind of cultivating those relationships. And then, in martial arts, we're here to teach our students to become black belts and eventually, potentially instructors. And, for me, with, the future, creating opportunities for them, that'll last their lifetime and support their families and all. So
you just, when you needed people, you just started looking back and thinking of the people that you had either trained with or trained in the past. Wow, that's awesome.
So that's where we found it. I did some Craigslist posts, and I didn't really get any good leads from that, but I got a lot of leads, a lot of different martial artists coming in, but not really the right fit for what I was looking for,
Right.
So anyway.
But I want to impress upon the owners listening right now how modest you are with the success you've had. And also, every time you talk about your school, you talk about it in terms of your students, your staff, and relationships and the community. And, I want people not to misunderstand what I'm saying. You have to be concerned with the numbers because we are a business. But I've always said, if you're in the martial arts industry just for the money, you're in the wrong industry. This is a people industry. This is a family industry. It's about relationships. It's about helping the community. If you have that first and foremost, the success is going to come. And of course, good customer service and good martial arts. Now, the next thing that school owners always want to discuss is marketing. A lot of school owners think there's a magic formula that some of us are keeping secret, or that there's a magic success powder that gets sprinkled on top of certain people and poof, it just happens. And a lot of them are confused with marketing. They're frustrated with their marketing. Give me some of the top marketing things that you know. If you had to write down 3 things that made your school go from 60 part-time students to 325 full-time students in the facility, what are the most important marketing things that's allowed for this type of rapid growth?
Awesome. Well, I would say definitely our community events. When we go out to the schools and we're doing school talks and we're doing booths at local events and stuff. We have this Railway Festival. That's a big community event. So we have our kids performing a demo. And that always draws them in a lot. But definitely it's those face-to-face contact events that we do. And second would be our Facebook page. Even though Facebook's algorithms are kind of going down and how many people can see your stuff, I still say it's a window to your school. It's the best way for people who would never walk through the door can actually see pictures of your school, members, smiling faces, what they're going to get if they do decide to walk through the door. So those are the 2 main things that I would say. And just my tip for anybody is that you got to want it. You got to make that decision to act. So when you're at those booths and all, you can either sit in your chair and wait for people to come to you, or what I do is if nobody's approaching my table or I'm not in a high foot traffic area, I'll actually grab my flyers, walk around, and I'll talk to every single parent. I'll point out where my booth is, and I'll tell them, get over to my booth, and we'll give you some prizes or sign you up for a trial or whatever we talk about. But you just have to chase them down, and you got to hustle. That's all my main tip would be, I guess.
Okay. Let me. You kind of oversimplified it. You said, but let me just expand, if you guys will. You said community events, which are promotional booths, basically. When you're showing up at the elementary school's fall festival, and you're showing up at the movie theater for the grand opening of a certain movie, or you're showing up at an expo, an event, a parents expo, kids expo, whatever. Those are community events. That's really when we say promotional booths, because you're meeting those people, you're putting a face and a name to the school, you're building little micro relationships that allow you to have a better result when you're calling them to schedule them or set an appointment. So really what you're saying is you're saying promotional booths, community events, which is all about lead generation and making phone calls and setting appointments. You also said mass intros and school talks, which is the mass intro system, going out, doing a presentation for people, inviting them back to your school for a special community event, what we would in the industry term a mass intro, making them a special offer to sign up that day. Now, I know you've had some really successful mass intro days. Do you remember the largest number of people that you signed up in one Saturday morning in a mass intro?
I would say probably about 32 was our biggest one. So yeah.
Now, what was the largest number of people between all your marketing that you signed up in 1 month since you've been in business?
In 1 month, we just had a month with 31. I think we've had a month with 37, if I remember off the top of my head. So, but yeah, so we really, our goal is 30 every month. And it's a high goal, but it's one that, when we're getting up to the deadline, we really try to pull it together to reach that number. So
you're doing real systems that you're focused on, that you have down to a science, that you rely on week in and week out, mass intros and power appointments. And you mentioned something else that's so important is you got to want it. School owners don't understand, why are they even in this business? You know exactly why you're in this business, and you want it. You want the success. You want to help the community. And that's another thing that's so important. And you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Now, a couple of questions in closing. What have you learned from this journey that you could share with the school owners? If you could give school owners any advice, whether they're seasoned school owners that have been in business 10 years or they're brand new, what is some general advice that you could give a school owner?
I guess I'm a little bit young. I guess I'm 30, but to give that type of powerful thought to so many people. But I guess for me anyway, would be just keep learning. No matter where you're at, you got to keep learning, and that means going to the events, going to other, meet other people, constantly working on our systems and even systems that we've already put in place. How can we tweak it? How can we make it a little bit better? So just constantly working, learning, implementing all of that. That's where we're at right now. So
nice. Now, do you have any? Can you share with us any maybe some future goals that you may be thinking about in the next 3 years or 5 years?
Yeah, so we've got our first location. This one that we're at right now should be maxing out by the end of the year. So we're going to be opening up a S1X model early next year and potentially January. I've already got my guy starting to groom for that position and opportunity. I've got another guy that I'm bringing on board who actually was friends with my wife, so another network relationship.
Nice.
And I can see him opening up a new location. He's moving back to the area. He's got a lot of martial arts experience, about 15 years. And so he's going to potentially be the next X1X after that.
Awesome.
And then just our leadership team and our certified instructor training program, running some of the systems that you've got on the site. We're going to be grooming people for those opportunities and really, taking our students to become instructors, to become, future business partners is a great opportunity that I wish I had when I was, a lot younger. So
great. Yeah, and I want to also, you're the kind of guy that you're here for the business meetings, but yet you're back there training in Krav Maga and getting certified, you and your whole team. I remember you came down, you're doing jiu-jitsu, and did you get choked out here in Knoxville once?
I don't know. I get choked out all the time. So I love it.
Well, no, being choked out, there's nothing wrong with being choked out. I'm just like, dude, just tap. I get that position. You didn't want to tap out. You just tap.
No. That wasn't me. That must have been somebody else. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tap before it gets to that point.
Me too.
Competition.
No, but the point is you take your martial arts just as serious. You work hard, you play hard, and that's important. Those of you mentioned S1X, those owners that are listening, S1X is one of our premier martial arts models for a school. Like Tim right now with 6 staff members, him and his wife, he's running our full-blown system, man. And we always called that 2.5 because that needs at least 2.5 employees, if not more, right? The S1X stands for simplicity or somebody's first location, or like Tim's using, their expanded locations. And that is a small modeled school, small square feet, and high traffic, awesome demographic shopping centers with really low staff, like one person running the whole show. So it's just like a simplified version of what he's doing now, so everybody knows. Tim, man, I want to thank you for being our first interview in our Success Series podcast. Do you have anything else you want to add that you want to share with us before we take off?
No, thank you for the opportunity and always communication and knowledge and opportunity to network with other owners and learn from them as well. So I just appreciate all of this. So, yeah.
All right, man. I will talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Thank
thanks.
you.